Mark Kohl.
What's up?
Thank you for coming in today. I've been really excited for this.
Thanks for having me.
You are sort of like the mad scientist of fungi, and it's pretty fascinating. And I'm kind of excited to go out there on this podcast with you.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know about I know that I'm the mad part for sure. I don't know about the scientist.
The stuff you're creating, the mushrooms you're creating are unbelievable. In addition, I want to just let people know that you also have this new project called the Frequency House.
Yeah.
Which is, do you want to explain it a little bit?
Yeah,
Okay.
Without the, getting sued by Soho House or whatever. But
Right.
I just use that as an example because, we've been in, I've been on this quest of transformation, as everybody here on my feed. Maybe I have the algorithm set to that, but, just trying to break my addiction and stuff. After we started the mushroom business, I saw, because we were supplying medicine to so many facilitators, I saw a big void in like a place for these people to do work and, for a place for them to land safely.
You're facilitating.
Yeah. And then, but not just like medicine, there's, sound healers and Reiki and, acupuncture and ozone and, the list goes on. And I see these talented healers everywhere, yogis and, breath work, all over the Los Angeles area as well as everywhere. And they're all trying to do it out of their apartment. And I'm like, hey, I got
because a lot of them are ex-actors.
I guess, yeah, we all actors in the world of stage. But no, I just, I have a couple acres in Topanga and we back up to the state park and people have asked, for years we've been, using my living room for stuff and, sound baths and the deck for events. And I was like, this is a huge need. So why don't we just like build it like mycelium and feed each other? Like so I've designed it electronically. We're putting the finishing touches on it to be a truly collaborative, safe container for people to come online as well as in person. Because, I realize like we all talk about collaboration, but when it really comes down to it, people don't feel super comfortable maybe sharing their clients with other facilitators or other people or whatever. So it kind of makes it really hard to be collaborative if there's still that financial attachment to, you spent 10 years earning your clients kind of thing and building a reputation. So, but however, now we have systems of finance that can transparently do transactions so everybody can truly be collaborative and we can track money so everybody gets a piece of the pie. Until people really feel safe with that, you really can't collaborate. So that's what we're doing.
Let's take a step back. So you said something interesting. You said that your algorithm is now showing you people who are interested in transformation and growth. Well, that's actually a beautiful thing, right? I mean, it's unfortunate that the world is moving so quickly and there's such a big need. But there was a time that people couldn't cry out for that people couldn't talk about that. It was sort of hidden.
Right.
And now it's come to the forefront. And we're so fortunate to be in the epicenter of that. And I love that you've got this place to facilitate what you're doing. But I think what makes you so unique is what you're actually creating with these mushrooms and the consciousness around them. And the science and the dedication and the perfectionism and the complete dedication to this. This has been a long process for you. And why don't we talk a little bit about what you're doing with the fungi?
Sure. I mean, it's there's always stories in how things evolved, but a lot of it, came out of my personal struggle with addiction and 10 years, I spent 10 years in rehab and stuff. So I learned the thing that saved me was, plant medicine. Yeah. So I started this business before anybody was talking about mushrooms because I knew it helped me, to get out of this way of thinking. So I started growing for others and mostly for other facilitators because, these healing practices that I'm talking about in the Frequency House were new. Like people weren't doing sound. This is like 8 years ago now, and sound baths were just coming out, And, mushroom facilitators were starting, breathwork classes were starting. Kundalini was kind of, being available to the, to the masses. So this is obviously a transition into the Aquarian age. And there's no coincidence that I feel that psychedelics, natural psychedelic medicine has reemerged during the Aquarian age, which is, unconsciously where we are right now. So us starting this business happened in the right time, and it was helping save me. So we started sharing with others. So I don't have any real education in it. I just knew to do it. And I had some guy that used to grow it in his backyard kind of show me how to do it in pressure cookers and mason jars. So we came at it kind of ignorant because I didn't know what I didn't know. So I have no science background. So I just did things by observation, which, looking back, maybe I should have listened a little bit more to mycology. But in the long run, we figured out our own methods that work very well because it's unique, because I didn't approach it linear like science, right? So we found that and along the way, I kind of build this symbiotic relationship of knowledge with them. It's trippy, but when I go into these ceremonies, they talk to me and they kind of tell me what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right. And, and that this is our mission to continue this.
They're just little beings with their own consciousness, and they communicate.
Right now. Yeah. No, it's true. It's like when you walk into our fruiting room, you can feel it.
Oh, I've been there. First of all, it's a spectacular operation that you've put together.
Right.
And I know that you've been through an enormous amount of trial and error because you're a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And when I walk into that room, I feel voices. Right. I feel connected to something greater than myself. And I think that that's part of what the magic that they possess.
Yeah, truly. I mean, we're both Kundalini teachers or whatever, and we talk about sound currents, and at first the reason I started the frequency method was because I was suffering from contamination and I was very frustrated, which is bacteria. Everything wants to grow in what we're doing,
and it grows so easily.
Yeah. So either it's a war. It's a war. When I look in my petri dish and everything, it's just like your body. Inside your body, there's hundreds, if not millions, of wars being fought right now. Your white blood cells, your antibodies, everything is beating the shit out of each other. But yet you pull back, there's harmony, right? So a petri dish is the same. There's bacteria in there, and if our DNA doesn't eat and kill the bacteria will win. So it's a race in our petri dishes. It's a race in our grain bags. It's a race in the fruiting bags. Who's going to win? So we breed. Or we want to expand the DNA of what I call the Navy SEALs. So when these battles are happening, I can see them if you look at them really close. And you go, and then if they win, the mycelium wins. You go, aha, those are the advanced elite troops. So I take a tiny piece of that Navy SEALs, I put it in another dish. Now I'm growing the elite.
You take a little biopsy and then you put that in the...
Right, I'm growing the elite, right? But there's still a little... we want some adversity, because if we don't have any adversity... you're not strong. It's just like humans.
Right, you've got to build up the immune system of the actual mushroom.
You got to build that DNA. So when somebody says, and again, this is kind of my language, but if somebody comes to me and says, "Do you have golden teachers?" And I say to them, just so you know, in the genetic world, if you say you have golden teachers, that's like saying you have a white guy. Do you have a fat white guy? Or do you have a Navy SEAL white guy? Do you have an intelligent white guy? Or do you have a dumb, you know what I mean?
Do you have one that was bred indoors,
with vibration, right.
Right. Do you have ones like yours that have a frequency
totally
that's
different.
Constantly, right?
Totally different.
Constantly playing in the grow house, or are you one of these guys that are selling vapes that are also now in the mushroom business? Like, it's a cartel, right? You don't want to do that shit. Like someone said to me the other day, "Oh, I thought of a great plan. Why don't I get these toads for 5-MeO and we'll breed them on the."
Oh,
I'm like,
gosh, that's
so
sacrilegious.
God, that is sacrilegious, right? That's what these people, they just want to jump on the bandwagon, make a quick buck, and they don't realize that these forms of medicine that we use have their own consciousness, and to either trap them in someone's pool to breed them or to grow them alongside marijuana lowers the frequency.
Well, it's not just that. It's like these are sacred. Like they were done in ceremonial. Like you look back to tobacco. right? We don't even know this, but years ago,
it's the
tobacco,
sacred medicine. It's a sacred plant,
totally.
yeah.
I mean, peace pipe, and they use it forever. Tobacco is good for you. Nicotine's excellent for the brain in the proper doses.
Look at the hop.
Yeah,
right?
in proper doses, nicotine, caffeine, they accelerate thinking.
As you and I both know, that maybe our listeners don't, is that in ceremony, tobacco is a sacred plant.
Yeah, but it was sacred even when our grandparents were doing it. I remember they would roll a cigarette from a tobacco leaf. Right, it was grown in the sun, and it was a ritual. You sat there, you talked, and you sat on your porch, and you chatted, and in Native American they would smoke the peace pipe, and they would have a ceremonial. It was a ceremony kind of thing, right? So it is medicine, it has been, but then the scientists got a hold of it and made it addictive because addiction is good for the economy.
But it's good for business,
and it's like legit, like second or third in the economic flow, next to data and oil. But addiction, so those people bought the food companies and they made our food addictive. Those people started the marijuana companies. Marijuana is not even marijuana anymore.
It's a cartel.
Not even close.
No.
But it's addictive, and it's also creating lots of nervous system issues and neurosis. And myself, I even took a hit off of some vape, and it almost put me in the hospital because it turns the vapes. This is a whole nother category, but it turns. It's not smoke. It atomizes the molecule, and that's a gas, and that goes through the lungs. The lungs can't trap it, so it goes to the brain and can starve the brain of oxygen. So that's. But my point is, when you go into a dispensary or something, you look at a bud. It doesn't even look remotely like the marijuana plant in nature, which is very healing, right? So again, sunlight, nutrients.
Yeah, you just need some old hippies who were growing it out of their backyard.
Right. That's what we did. And you had to harvest it, dry it, and roll it, clean it. You smoke a joint. It's low THC. I mean, alcohol in nature is not that bad because it's only 3 or 4%, right? But we make 80 proof vodka. This is the thing we make. So everything's about. So also, what is the intention behind it? So the same people that own the marijuana companies that have destroyed tobacco, destroyed our food, destroyed marijuana, have now destroyed mushrooms.
Yeah, well, sometimes you see them in these little packages. They look like candy.
Right, but they're
unreal.
It is, because mushroom now we're moving into a higher consciousness. Every plant obviously has a consciousness. But the intent behind it, you can even feel it in your food, right? If you make your food, a fresh food for a loved one, it's a ceremony, it's a ritual, right? The whole process of cooking, everything is like, it's a ritual. Well, when you go to a restaurant, it's put together by some guy that's, mad at his boss. It's a different vibe is what I'm saying. So the food has it, but now we're talking about mystical experiences, right? We're not talking about food. We're talking about things that take you into other realms. So the intention behind that is definitely felt.
Can we talk a little bit about how the mushrooms get you into that other realm? Because I think that's really what's most curious for people. Like, how does the tryptamine or the psilocin work to create sort of a universal oneness or a spiritual experience that's so ineffable and untangible, but these medicines bring it out in us? Yeah,
I mean, it's quite honest. There's a mystery behind it that I think we'll never. But that's what makes it so cool, because and we'll talk about psilocybin and mushrooms as well. So we get a lot of confusion because it's like, the difference between ibogaine, psilocybin, mushrooms, DMT, ayahuasca, so these are molecules that are inside the mushroom.
Serotonin is also a molecule that looks very much
like LSD and psilocybin.
More like LSD, I believe, but it does look like both of them.
Well, this is how, so I make the analogy that psilocybin is to a mushroom as vitamin C is to an orange. Right? An orange has vitamin C in it, but there's many other things in the pulp, right? So a mushroom has psilocybin in it, but there's many other things in there that honestly we don't know, which creates the entourage effect. So all you hear about is the scientists and everybody are just talking about the psilocybin molecule. Right.
Well, it's actually right. And there's an effect that the human body actually strips part of the psilocybin off of.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. We'll just talk about psilocybin for a second. Okay. So psilocybin is covered in phosphate, the molecule, and then it has to go through the liver, converted into psilocin, which is the actual molecule that goes into the serotonin 5-2A receptor system. So we have 16 receptor systems in the brain. We operate mostly in the first one, in the conscious mind, in the frontal cortex, right? Which is, operate. So serotonin is not just the happy, drug or the happy molecule. It does lots of stuff. It sets your digestive systems, your sexual function, some of your cognitive functions. It has a lot of responsibilities. That's why when you're on SSRIs, you have these tremendous side effects because it messes with your serotonin.
Including addiction, by the way.
Yeah. When when sexual dysfunction, eating disorder, right? Because it regulates all these things, and then you throw that out. So what happens is, in the receptor system, you have to have, it's like a lock and a key before the receptor system lets anything in, right? So psilocybin goes into the serotonin 2A receptor system. So the 1A receptor system, like I said, just kind of goes in the front and operates in the conscious behavior area of the brain, what's going on right now, right? But we rarely get into the 2A system, which the 1A system just kind of runs around in the front like a sprinkler system. And then in the back, the 2A system goes everywhere in the brain, right? Everywhere.
Right, so your brain is communicating on a level that it doesn't when it's not on the psilocybin.
As the mystics say, there's many, many rooms in the mansion you've never been in.
Right, which is why, for example, so let's say the visualization and the auditory are not connected.
That's synesthesia.
You can oftentimes when
you flip them.
Right, you flip them, or you'll hear color when
that's
you're
what what synesthesia is.
Is that what it is?
Your senses flip, but when you go into these many, many rooms of the mansion that the Buddhists talk about, that's where we don't know, right? So what is the brain? Are you in the mind? Okay, the brain is inside the mind. What is the mind? Where do we go? It gets into the nervous system. I'm getting chills right now talking about it because,
so
cool. In yogic science, as modern science is proving, that the conscious mind is here, but the subconscious is the nervous system. 63,000 miles of nervous system wire is your huge supercomputer processing information constantly. It gets in there. So everything that's ever happened, right now you have millions of sensations going to your brain, your clothes, touching your skin, your hair, with the sounds outside, it filters it out so that it doesn't overload the conscious mind, right? Like I make the example, if you could smell everything, you would go mad. Our senses are designed to smell something that smells like shit, so that's disease, stay away. Something that smells smells good, I'm attracted to it, survival, right? Well, the brain's the same way. So, but where does that stuff go? It goes into the subconscious, right?
Are you talking about like dark thoughts?
All of it,
right?
Everything. So your traumas and everything go there, right. But who's filtering these things that you see? Like what's deciding what I should should be brought to your conscious mind or not?
The subconscious?
Well, that's the question. As we progress, who's in charge? Is it our traumas that are filtering? This is the lens that we perceive reality through, right? So in our reality is just limited to the five senses. But when we heighten, so the brain, the conscious brain or the conscious mind processes 40 megabytes a second. And then I've read studies that say the subconscious nervous system processes 40 million a second, right? So we light that up. We light the brain up as, like I said, it goes everywhere. So what's in there? Well, what happened in the past? What are some of these thoughts that we pick up? Right. In Kundalini, we talk a lot about, I'll never forget, I had like suicidal thoughts, and one of the gurus got up and said, "Hey, did you have suicidal thoughts today?" And I was like, how did she know my mind? And she said, "No, it's being broadcast. I picked it up." So we're an antenna and a transmitter. Right. So in there, who's like when you talk to yourself,
our subconscious is a broadcasting system.
It's also a receiver.
Right. That's why that's why our vibration and our frequency is so valuable and so important.
And to protect it.
Yeah.
But then you get in there when you talk to yourself, like the question is who's talking and who's listening, right? So
who is the talker and who's the listener?
Right. Self and other. The Buddhists talk about self and other, but so it just brings awareness The whole concept of this is to bring awareness to this stuff and no judgment. So when we disengage the ego and the conscious mind, we can see things for what they are without this filtering of the selection process of what we get to actually perceive, right? So, and this is where the healing is, because the ego in the mind has to be right. Right? It's very powerful. The ego is developed. Children don't have egos.
Do you think that this has been my experience, and I feel like when I do the medicine, part of what's so healing for me is that it's experiential. You're not walking into a psychiatrist's office and repeating the same story, right? Which further just embeds it in your mind, right? You become what you say, your thoughts become your reality. So I feel like these experiential, which is why they're so scary. Like you can go down a rabbit hole, but you're actually dislodging it from your DNA on some level.
For sure.
And it's gone.
That's
like,
exactly
that was my experience. I don't know if I told you this, but before I did the Ibogaine, I was having terrible OCD. Mm-hmm. And I was literally scratching the skin off my arms. It was so bad, Mark, that I had to wrap my arms, and when I woke up in the morning, my sheets would be covered in blood. I had such an enormous amount of stress. And my friend who had done Ibogaine, she had done it for addiction, but she called me and she said, I just had this experience and I think it might work. It's supposed to eliminate sort of loop thoughts and loop patterns. And I did it once. And I never scratched my arms again.
Right. Because it also Ibogaine probably cleanses the nervous system deeper than anything, right? Because, and it also plays a slideshow of your memories of your life kind of thing, right? So you reflect on your life, but it's a long process of cleaning the nervous system, which is, what's going on when you're OCD.
So how is the nervous system actually cleansed? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, there's many ways, but this is some of my take on it. I believe that most diseases and neuroses and things come from the mind, right? They just do. Thought drives emotion. Emotion drives the ethereal. The last three auras are, thought, emotional, the thought aura, the emotional aura, and of course the ethereal aura, the body, the physical being, which is mostly what we talk about. But thought drives everything. So, what you think about, you bring about. This is not, woo-woo. It's like our thoughts are so powerful. I make the analogy. It's mine a little bit, but if you can masturbate, right? But from thought, you can have a physical orgasm with your eyes closed from thought. So when I tell people, if you don't think the mind is powerful, think about that.
Well, this is what the placebo effect is. I mean,
it's just thought.
Right. It's
right. So
powerful, they can override almost
correct
anything.
As an orgasm, right? That's pretty powerful. So if you think you're this way, that way, or whatever, you give power to that, right? So back to the Western psychology issue, they're designing you to be a victim because they want you to come back.
And they've known that they've known about the placebo effect. They know how powerful the mind is.
Right. I sat
They
in
know how
hundreds,
addictive SRIs are and how bad they are for you.
But they have to make their Porsche payment. Come on. Right? No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, I don't even think they know they're doing it. Well, I don't even think they know they're doing it because this is the way it's. I mean, I was in rehab so many times, and I remember sitting across from some 28-year-old psychologist about addiction, telling me what an addict is.
Well, it's not a conscious business to begin with.
No, but I mean, how would they this is the age of. Psychedelics bring you awareness, but it's an experience. It's knowing. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Not learning, right? We are taught in school. We read thousands. You've probably read 100,000 miles of text in your lifetime. The average human mind can only take on 2 things at one time. Yet the universe comes at us 1,000 times every second.
And it's getting faster.
Right, but then again, the brain's filtering out. The point is, when we get into psychedelic realms, we know. It's like, the Buddhists make this example. I can do this, right? I know how to do this. Can I tell you how to do this? No. But I know how to do this.
Yeah.
In other words, you can't teach that.
I understand.
Right? So you can't learn it in a book.
This brings us to a really interesting point. So everybody these days seems to be a shaman in California. I actually don't like that word. I try not to use it.
Yeah, because we want to.
It just comes with a lot of
sacred.
Right, it's sacred.
Same
And
as guru,
I think
same
it's
as-
overused.
Yeah.
And it can also come with a lot of baggage and historic stuff that some people might not want in their trip. But I will say that I've done a lot of medicine over the years. I mean, I've been doing this now for 20 years. So, and I've had some really bad facilitators. I've had some charlatans.
Sure.
And what I've realized is it really doesn't matter because the person leaves the trip and the medicine does the work. So yeah, it can be a dark trip and it could be, it could be harrowing to be with someone that you don't trust.
It
Still doesn't matter.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the lessons will come to you regardless because the message is coming from the medicine, not the facilitator.
Most of the time it's coming from you. So, the facilitator's job is, this especially applies to, obviously women, I believe you can't really heal unless you feel 100% safe. Because if you have that little guard up, you just can't relax. And when we get into the shadow work, if you will, of psychedelics, you need to be able to breathe through it. And it's like you're floating in a pool. I know this from my own experiences. When I fight it, I have to breathe more because we're always in control.
Well,
and
you're
this
a yogi
is the time.
and you know that breath is...
Right. But it's like breath, but like this is the only time, especially women, when do you guys ever get a break? You never. So when you come into ceremony and you're in these different realms, you have to feel completely safe so you can give it the medicine, allow it to work. And then you're really allowing yourself to be free. We don't ever have that extra resistance up of some sort of protection. And that's what also creates tons of, adrenaline, cortisol that makes us sick.
Now, why do you say mostly women? I would think actually men let down their guard less often than women.
Totally. Yeah. No, you guys have, I feel you have an extra layer of, because I can walk through some areas and be okay, but
you're talking about safety,
safety.
Physical safety?
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, safety.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, especially like if there's other men in the room or what have you.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because...
but I do think it's harder for men to let down the walls.
You can't. Oh, yeah, that's ego.
Because, right.
Sure.
It's ego.
Yeah. No, but for both sides, there's different levels
Elements,
of safety.
Correct.
We have to.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, you bring up a good point because
meant.
I was brought up to always be in control and for me to be, I didn't realize it. They're like, if the medicine said, now, release all fear, and I would do it, and they go, no.
One more.
Release more. And no, release more. It's yelling, let go.
Yeah.
Fucking stop it. Stop fighting. Stop.
Well, I think anyone who's been in this sector or done this work can attest to the fact that the rooms are generally, and this is an underestimate, 80% women, 20% men, right?
It's Aquarian age, man.
Right? But the point being that women are quicker to jump in. It's much less scary for a woman to let go. And we're also, I think, I don't want to say more explorative, but I think that we have the ability and the freedom of not being as connected to our egos.
100%.
And so for a man to let go of that is petrifying. They don't know what they're going to see. Yeah. Their vagus nerve is disconnected, their brain from their heart for so long in order to be successful or achieve what they want to in this business.
To be a warrior.
To be a winner, right? To be a money maker. So it's very scary to open one's heart and see what's inside.
Well, the true healers of, especially now in the Aquarian age is the age of the feminine and the age of healing, the age of truth. You can't hide anymore. The age of transparency. Businesses are failing because they're still run Piscean. They're still run masculine. They're still run by force. They'll still run by secrets. They'll still run by competition. We're in a different realm.
There's some wonderful men healers out there. I have
Oh,
to
I'm not
say.
saying that. I'm just saying
Absolutely
that. I'm saying this
extraordinary.
friction we are feeling is the
I
friction
think
of
it's
the
more-
old way into the new
right.
way.
I think it's more about the old way into the new way.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
just we're in the cusp, right?
Right.
So it's the unknown. So where I'm going,
Some
Guru
women-
Jagat
some-
had an
right.
Aquarian business school because again, she knew, this is the time of the feminine or collaboration to heal.
I would say collaboration.
Yeah. I mean, we need balance of masculine
Right,
and feminine.
exactly. I think that
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah,
a little
100%.
bit better way to put it. There's been an imbalance,
Correct.
right? We
And it's-
all
yeah.
the masculine and the feminine both have.
Right.
Right, we both
We
have
need
the
each
feminine.
other.
We need each other. It's the moon and the sun.
It's the same at two ends of the same
Right?
stick.
As you know, right? The,
Yeah, I mean,
the
yin
moon
and
is the
yang.
female.
Yeah.
male is
Dark
the
and
sun,
shadow,
right?
however you want to put it.
And so it's more about balance, I
Right.
think, than I mean, there's the feminine healing energy obviously is beautiful,
Right. But it has to be protected by the
correct,
masculine.
and correct. And some of us need to go through, to be with a man in order to
Right.
heal, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
we all have our traumas that are brought on by different elements in our childhood, and we all seek healing in different ways. But
Yeah.
I think that for me, when I'm in a plant induced state, I feel both sides of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel both sides. I can go through very feminine moments and then very, very masculine, the warrior,
Yeah.
the protector.
Yeah.
But what I like most is when it's all gone and I'm feeling in my feminine,
Right.
I'm
Again,
feeling-
that's being comfortable. Right.
letting down my guard.
Right. And you should, I'm kind of old school with this stuff because I came from a different world, at my age. But I love being a man. I love being the hunter. I love being the protector. It gives me, I don't need anything. I'm not flashy, but it's just in me to work and protect and go hunting.
And
as
I
they
think it should
say.
be. And I don't
Yeah.
believe that women who say that they don't want that
Right.
don't.
Right.
I think they've been indoctrinated
For
into
sure.
this belief
And
system.
why is that?
Because the masculine, for whatever reason, was not in vogue over
But
the
think
last.
about it. Why we are this whole system is designed for us to fall apart, right? I mean, democracy at its core is based on the individual rights. We don't operate as individuals. Human beings operate as tribes, as families. That's how we survive.
Right.
To communities. In a
And the
tribe,
man is meant to protect the woman.
100%.
And the woman is to provide.
Yes, because back in the tribal days, if the
support.
man left the children and woman, they died.
Exactly.
Right, as any other species, right? So that's abandonment. But why are we judging this? We should be our whole concept of government or our community is based on community.
And it's actually so beautiful. When
It
you
is.
think of the original,
Yeah,
right? When
the
you
archetypes.
the archetypes are beautiful.
For sure, everybody does their job. Together, the tribe survives. And you have the classic archetypes: the hunter, the teacher, whatever, right? And they do their job well. And we still have that in there. Like when you go to Burning Man, I remember the first time I went to Burning Man and, the shit hit the fan. I mean, we got hit with a whiteout and all my systems destroyed, broke, no food, no electricity, burning. And then everybody huddled together. And immediately I witnessed this. This is also why I like psychedelics. You observe more. Everybody kind of unconsciously fell into their archetype to fix the all hands on deck thing. All of a sudden, I can
The
fix
helpers
things.
were helping.
Well, all of
The
a
women
sudden,
were cooking and taking care of the
and
men.
we turned into a tribe like
Yep.
that. And you know what? We defeated it.
And that's
I'm
because
getting chills talking about it.
right, and
but
that's so
in us.
beautiful. And
Right.
it's been turned into something ugly.
Well,
There's been this
because, yeah.
overcorrection,
Right.
and I think what's happening is sort of the pendulum is evening itself out.
Because we're becoming aware.
And
So
because women want to feel
Yeah.
adored and cherished
Sure.
and ravaged, right? We don't want to be the ravager.
no, I mean that's why. I mean you shouldn't have to be. So, but just think about it from whoever's controlling the world. Like they break up the easiest thing to do to create disharmony in the world is break up the family unit, right? So first of all, you make it
Confuse
to
your identity.
well, you break up. So the children, you first of all, you're doubling the tax base instantly. instantly, right? Now, but you're also creating misery and stress. Now both people have to work to pay for shit we don't need.
I never thought about doubling the tax base.
Instantly, at the same time, destroying the family. So now you have a career, I have a career, we never see each other, we're exhausted, we have a whole other set of friends, we're like bitching about each other, we come home, it's just, and then the child is being raised and programmed by who? The government and the schools, and not the mother and the father.
And the word career has been missing. Like purpose is the word we're looking for, right?
Right.
We all need purpose,
right? And that's our archetypal.
Right. Exactly.
Thing.
It's not a career.
No.
Not everybody needs a career.
No.
We just need to fulfill that purpose.
Right.
And
right. Exactly. But that's also what psychedelics help you with.
They do. They help you understand your purpose.
I realized that years ago. When my identity, because we're unconscious, right? I didn't know. I had to grow up in a different era. You worked to make money, right? So my identity, my core identity was to my job, as most Americans were back in the day, right? Well, that's not who I am. That's what I do.
Right.
So I didn't know I was doing that. So I was a director. So when when work was good, my core identity was good. I felt good. And when I wasn't working, I felt like I didn't exist. My identity suffered, right? Because I had no clue that this was happening. So the subconscious is 10 times more powerful than conscious. So this lives in the ego, and it's 10 times more powerful. So I realized now I was taking jobs just to validate my identity, right?
Wow.
Right. Okay. Wow. Well, then that applied when I became alcoholic. I went to all these years of rehab and stuff. And I would always pick up a drink because it was my identity as an alcoholic. They told me I was an alcoholic.
And you said it every day in meetings.
I did, exactly.
You
and I didn't know.
Every day in meetings.
Exactly. So no matter how many rehabs, therapy, everything, I remember feeling the thing. I would always pick up a drink and then my ego would go, aha, see, I'm right. You are alcoholic. Aha, that girl left you. See, you are unlovable. More power,
yes.
More power. Validate, shame. And this is how we put a gun in our mouth 10 days later. And we don't know why. It's a total illusion. So I realized that the psychedelics that I did, the ayahuasca and things, I didn't know what I didn't know. But years later, it came to me because people were like, how did you stop this time? What was the thing that changed that made you break the patterning? And I was like, I don't know.
Was it the ayahuasca?
Yeah, I don't know, but what I realized, it was everything, but mostly Kundalini and ayahuasca, because you have to do the work. The plant medicine will clear the Etch-a-Sketch, will be a fresh new snowfall.
But then you're still left with you.
Right, but then you get on a Kundalini practice, and I didn't know this. I just knew that I felt better when I came out of class. I would go every day. I didn't know why. I would love the science behind it. Them talking, okay, this is going to balance the brain and the hemispheres, and this is doing the nadis. And I'm like, what? Okay, just shut up and do it. And then I started seeing the change that, I was rebuilding my nervous system. I was cleansing my thoughts. I was seeing that, wait, maybe all these thoughts are not mine.
You were cutting through, right?
Right, but you have to.
Kundalini is the science of angles and triangles, right?
Well, we're, back then we're doing the 11-minute poses and shit. We're shaking and we're going mad, but all of a sudden, somehow the mind, we learn to control the mind.
And all of a sudden, overcome it. If you could
we kick in the second nervous system. Right? How many people kick in the second nervous system? We never do. Yogi, we have two, major, like the Navy SEALs say, just when you think you can't move anymore, you actually have 60% more in the gas tank because we kick in the second nervous system. I get it mixed up. Is it the sympathetic but we go into the
sympathetic nervous system.
We kick it in. I remember holding poses and I'm like, no. And then all of a sudden I would just kind of breathe through it. And then all of a sudden,
boom,
you're good.
You're floating.
Right. That's what marathon runners, the first mile is the longest, right? Or hardest. They kick it in.
First cut is the deepest.
It's the second wind. And that's where the essence of these peace and calm come from, is when you're in that other realm. And I realized that. And then, we're building that stronger and stronger and stronger. And then our aura is stronger. And then our mind's stronger. And nobody can really offend us or anything because...
And then you're no longer identified with that person that, right, you believed you were for so long.
Right. So...
And the liberating feeling of that. I mean, it's like It really is a rebirth. And that's why people become so dedicated, devoted to my practice, because I know that without it,
same.
Like I used to be on SRIs, right? But my practice
100%
is my devotion. And I know that while I'm in that space, I mean, look, I'm a human being. You make some left turns, but for the most part, you get back on track.
But the left turns are also where you learn.
They are. But what happens is you don't want to spiral.
Right.
And this prevents you, right?
But, when you sail a sailboat or even a plane, it doesn't fly straight to New York from LA. It goes a little bit this way, a little bit this way, a little bit this way, a little bit this way. It's life. Right. But you're aware, awareness.
There's no direct
and that would be boring anyway.
But I really do love the combination. I don't do as many psychedelics these days as I used to because I don't feel, I respect the medicine.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that I need it as much. But if I'm going through something in my life, like I recently just went through something, and I was really ready to go for the toad. I was ready.
Come up and see us.
And, but I made it through, and I thought, wow, look, the toad taught me the way, and so I didn't need it this time. But I don't have fear of any of it. I know that whenever I turn to it, or when I feel called to it, it's there for me.
Well, just know that it is actually you.
It is, yeah, of course.
This medicine just shows you. That it's you, right? You know these things inside. It's truth.
Right.
I say three main things.
Right, it's truth with a capital T.
Three main things I find in ceremony. One is truth. Second one is finding purpose. Like, why are you here? Let's back up to truth. You can lie to yourself all you want, right? But like my first ceremony with ayahuasca especially, cut through all the bullshit. Like it calls you out on everything. You can't lie to the universe. You can lie to yourself. You can try, but when you get in there, you look at yourself in the mirror. I mean, it's like right there. And then when you face that, that's where everything lifts off of you because it's not so scary. And that's such a relief that you're not lying to yourself. You're not playing games. You're not justifying your actions. There is none of that.
Do you think it's love?
This is where I'm going with it, actually. Yes, I do. And, okay, let's unpack that for a second. So truth, and this is actually in dictation from supposedly God, it goes like this. Truth, joy, and then love, right? So I put this to my own life, is I find that I cannot love you if I don't respect you. And respect means I trust you. Right? Because I can't be vulnerable. I can lust you, but I'm not going to open up my heart and soul to you because then I'm exposed and you could kill me. You're a parasite. You're an enemy.
You're vulnerable.
You're an enemy, right? Because so therefore I have to figure out, but once I respect you, then I can love you, right? And respect is based for sure in trust, which is truth, right? I can't respect myself. I can't love myself. Simple. So if you're running around doing these little things that you know are not cool, you're going to lose respect for yourself, and therefore you're going to lose love for yourself, and therefore everything collapses because how can you love anything if you don't love yourself?
Right, and those are the dark moments in the journey that you overcome when you start to see the light.
And that's
at the
the
end.
Healing.
That's the healing.
But it's not that bad.
People are afraid of it, and do you know that there are these new psychedelics that they're coming out with they're actually made so that you can avoid the dark moments. And I thought, well,
what's the point?
That's the point. Where's the healing?
This is the thing. We're just like friggin' lazy.
We're too lazy, and we never let up. It's like we can't let a good thing be good. We have to add on to it. We have to add
because we don't want to do the work, but
and we don't want nature. We don't want to let nature be nature.
That too, but for sure. But I mean, we're afraid of work. Kundalini is a practice of discipline.
No, we live in fear. We live in fear.
That's an illusion, but it's an illusion.
Of course it is.
97% of your worries never happen. They don't, but they run you, and then they make stress. Stress is an opinion. I call stress an opinion.
It's an interesting way to look at it.
Because it came to me, because I'm running around. I'm always fucking on the edge, all the time on the edge. But I'm not freaking out, because I live in it all the time. I mean, I'm doing all kind of stuff I'm not supposed to be doing. I'm always, stretching it. If you give me $100 million, I'm going to push it to 120. It's just the way I am, right? I've always done it my whole life. And now I do it fearlessly because we're in new territory. Like I said before, we're building the plane as it's flying. We don't know where we're going.
Well, this was where I was initially starting off when I called you the mad scientist.
Yeah.
And because you are. I mean, you're always creating, you're pushing things to the limit. You're a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And you just don't stop.
Because, it could be an obsession, but how many summers do we have? You know what I mean? Like and the window is cracked. I can feel it. I see things. We have to move now to get in before it's shut forever, right? Opportunity. And there's no coincidence that we're sitting here doing this right now in Southern California. We're going to look back in 5 years and go, this was the change that was predicted thousands of years ago.
We are the change
and
makers.
We're in the epicenter of it.
We are the change
right?
makers.
So
and
consciousness
that's why we're good
is
at what we
shifting.
do, because we're not doing it for the money.
No.
We're doing it for the change.
I mean, I tell people, they're like, how do you figure this stuff out? And it came to me, I've learned to listen. My mind is like calm as much as it can be. And I'm just all day long, I'm just listening. And these nuggets of wisdom come in of what to do. Why am I thinking with this limited mind when I already know this realm of all ideas, consciousness is right there? I'm going to let that guide me. So I have this rule, and it takes so much stress off of me because I never am right about the future anyway. I just do the next right thing. I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow, Taylor. I just knew I was coming here today. Right? And I don't even know what I'm doing in 2 hours, but I just put on my calendar. I go, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Obviously. So I just put it down. I don't even know the agenda. I don't know anything. So I just show up. And right now I'm just letting it flow. There's no script. There's no, this is who I am.
I feel like you and I have been on the same trajectory for a while, and we met in this world. I mean, we met in Kundalini class with our beloved Guru Jagat.
Yeah.
And there was a pretty immediate connection. And I think that, we're still very connected and our paths are still very much aligned. And I love everything you have to say. I love what you're doing. I love the space you've created, the people you have around you. I mean, everything you're doing is right. And it's so nice to have friends like that, because I can tell you now, when I look back on my old friendships, they don't offer me the same kind of growth that a friendship with someone like you or Husband Joe does. And so I'm so grateful for evolving. I'm so grateful to have people around me who are teachers and students at the same time. I mean, we never stop being students.
No.
You'll never stop creating your concoctions, right? You're never going to have the perfect mushroom, right?
No,
and
change. And that's the fun. That's the fun part.
Exactly.
I mean, if everything... Alan Watts, he's one of my favorite, but,
me too.
if everything was dandy, I mean, there's lots of talks on this. Like, if everything was good, we get bored. Like, if we're playing cards and I know you have all the cards and you're going to win, what do we do?
Right,
we fold the game and we start over.
Right, our soul is looking for a challenging incarnation, so it progresses. And yeah.
So it's your perception, but if we find purpose, then we're the stick floating down the river. We're not trying to push it up the river. Because it is happiness. If I didn't do anything, I jump out of bed in the morning, right? I'm not getting out of bed in the morning to go earn money. We're not even doing anything like that yet. But it's an energetic field.
Okay, so we're going to wind down, but I just want to say a few things. You're fascinating. This was an incredible episode. I can't wait until it airs, because I think it's really going to help people. And I know that that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And people that listen to this podcast, I think I tend to be a gateway for people who are curious but not quite there. Mm-hmm. I mean, certainly I have friends like you that are there, but I also have, some traditional parent friends, and they're on the precipice. And they want to step over that line. And I think that conversations like this help them really with their transformation. And I'd also like you to tell people how to get in touch with Frequency Caps and Frequency House, and what would people do if they want to reach out to you, if they want to be a part of your community?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing to do, the platform building the fastest, is the Frequency House, because it's the community, it's the people. So just find us at frequency-house.com. And there's all kinds of, we're building out a frequency TV platform of education and stuff. We're doing live streaming, and maybe we'll even put this on there and vice versa. But tomorrow we even have a Buddhist teaching of the Four Noble Truths, so that we're starting there. But the point is, you can find us there, and I think our Instagram is like Frequency House was taken, so I think we got Frequency Casa or something. Okay. But it comes up, and follow us there. We'll be online with Frequency TV shortly, and if you're in the Southern California area, we'll have lots of events. We'll have stuff weekly. We're going to have weekly breath work classes, weekly yoga classes, live, and weekly Dharma Buddhist teachings.
Yeah, and it can't be understated how beautiful and what a perfect environment, setting
nature,
this is. Yeah. You've really done it right.
Thank you.